What's up, everybody? It's Verdict here, and we have news. Apparently, shamans grew a brain, and they kind of figure out what's going on after 20 years. Now, in 20 years of my life in World of Warcraft, never have I ever seen a shaman be so unbelievably based, be so on point, be so truthful, and be just completely non-biased to the situation, specifically in PvP. Of course, this season of Discovery. And I have something to read to you fellas, because this guy, you have earned the respect of every single Alliance player, let alone Paladin player. Everybody that sees you right now, you saying what you just said in this forum post, which I'm about to read, pretty much makes you the most base shaman in existence. I don't think at any given point in time a more base shaman than you have ever existed, good man. So let's read it. Now, before a little bit of an introduction to this topic, there's been a threat onto the EU forums about Paladins requiring a nerf. Now, of course, I'm not going to go into this for now. We're going to get into that in a bit. But see, obviously a conversation was sparked. Paladins are like, dudes, the only thing that we're one-shotting are the PvE players who think they can enter PvP with PvE gear and PvE enchants and think that they're just some sort of gods that are supposed to spray everybody and kill everybody, which is true. The moment you see the 13k HP targets, the 14, 15k HP warriors, you're no longer a threat. And that is the consensus within the Paladin community. It's like, pretty much we're gonna spot that squishy guy and we're gonna one-shot them. But fact of the matter is, the moment we start fighting against the 15k warriors, the 13k hunters, the 12, 13k health shamans, it's like, dude, we're no longer dangerous. We simply aren't dangerous at all, and we're so susceptible to purges because of this. Nonetheless, I put the carrot in front of the horse. With that being said, let's just read what this absolutely based human being shaman player, who is apparently ranked 14, and honestly, I just can't help myself. It's so beautiful to read this for the first time in 20 years of World of Warcraft Classic. Let's begin. So I've read a lot of the comments on this thread like these and done my bit to emphasize with the Paladin players. Reading their response, you actually learn they're the victims in all of this. At first, I thought about it, okay, he is probably capping. He's probably going to poke fun at this. Turns out there's some things that are seemingly unique to them, and they might actually need more. And now you're like a little bit, okay, this is definitely a troll. But then we keep on reading. First off, ranged classes. All of them. If the Paladins' defensives and gap closers are on cooldown, they actually get kited. When you look at this through the eyes of a Paladin, you do realize this is a bad game design, and ranged should never actually have the chance to kite or use their ranged advantages against them. Don't bother bringing up bubble, we'll just ignore you or remind you they've actually been nerfed. This is insanity, because bubble is factually nerfed, and roughly 90% of the players don't even know that is a thing. People don't know still that bubble, Divine Shield, let me just go inside game, Divine Shield has a 50% damage reduction now. People just don't know that. People still think that it's just the 100% auto attack duration. People just don't know this, and they still think it's a placebo in a sense. They just still think bubble is OP for some reason, and it's not. Every time I bubble, I get ignored as if I don't exist, and I'm just trying to stack some sort of damage in a prep up for damage. It just doesn't do anything. Bubble just simply is a weird little thing that just doesn't do much. Let's continue reading. Next. You don't actually realize there are other classes that are OP. That is so true. People think through... It's subjective whenever you complain about a class. Granted, that is 100% true. We can't do anything about it. Complaining is subjective. Is Paladin one of the top 5 OP classes right now? Absolutely not. We're not even in the top 5. Currently, and this is not subjective, I study the meta. I have helped craft PvP stuff for Season of Discovery. I can tell you a lot of stuff about this. Dude, there's so many better, more good classes, just better meta picks than Paladins for any purpose whatsoever. Specifically right now, since Arathi base it is a meta, Paladins are even worse off below the top 5. Now, let's just continue reading what the guy says. Boomkins Absolutely, Boomkins are absolutely busted, unreasonably, idiotically strong. Hunters, kill shot spamming from 44-yard range, killing people as if they are nothing. This is absolutely true. Elemental Shamans, still factually, the Elemental Shamans are kind of in the same place as Red Paladins. If they work for their burst, they're gonna one-shot something. Same thing happens with us. If we work for our burst, we can one-shot something. And Elemental Shamans are actually capable of killing Paladins, which isn't okay. It's been like this for years. It's been like this since the dawn of Classic. The only class that Paladins can consistently kill in vanilla are rogues, and that's just because if you are in a Reckoning spec and you fight a rogue who is not really aware of this, you're gonna trinket, you're gonna stun, and you're gonna one-shot them, and that is the only time Paladins really kill somebody. You can have a good chance against warriors, you can have a good chance against perhaps some hunters if they're a little bit onto the bad side. But overall, in a skill matchup, Paladins only consistently win. And it's not consistently win in the sense of 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. No, probably 6 out of 10 will win. We are very RNG dependent even then. Let's continue reading. They also fall under the first point too. It's far more important to address these classes first because any Paladin will tell you they're actually OP, but Paladins just have high burst. I'm about to shed a tear. We just have high burst. We have nothing else. We just have damage right now, which is ironic for a support class. Purge. This is a stupid skill. I really am about to cry. It removes their seals, which are essential to Paladin combat. Seals and seal twisting should be unable to be countered. It's also unimportant as to whether the Shaman is doing anything else during this. They're ruining Paladin's damage. Dude, oh my god. How are you so based? Purge is the bane of our existence. Right now in Season of Discovery, Shamans don't use their kits when they see Paladins. They just purge. They literally just purge. There is nothing better to do but purge. In a new game mode where you're supposed to take your class to a whole new level, and the Shamans, the poor Shamans, and I say poor Shamans because it sucks for them as well. Shamans want to do damage. They want to deal with their stuff. Instead, they're forced to purge Paladins. That's not a good design either for the Paladin or the Shaman, and Paladins are just still a nuisance just because, you know, they're gonna one-shot the squishy teammates. It's better to purge them off. Shamans ain't playing, Paladins ain't playing, and they're stuck in this kind of like a paradoxical loop in a sense. No mobility. Ignoring the in-combat mount, yes, the steed has 45-second cooldown and it's very short. It's almost non-essential. In order for you to use the steed, you have to blow your Hands of Freedom, otherwise it doesn't work because you're slowed. It just simply is you're blowing 2 cooldowns from ability at the same time, and those are the only 2 that you have. It's pretty much a one-way ticket situation. If you want to deal damage also, you pop your wings, you can't bubble after that. You're pretty much, it's like either I die or you die. It's as simple as this. They're called the wheelchair class for a reason. They never actually catch any of the targets they're chasing. From what I understand, this is the main reason they have to be able to kill anyone and everyone in a global. Maybe 2 if we're going to push it. Maybe. Well, here's the thing, as I said earlier, when we get into a pre-made against good players that are flasked with proper rank 13, 14 gear, the fights are very long. We're talking about 30, 40 seconds, blacksmith fights. We're trying to kill people. Yeah, it's not as big as, you know, people think. Fact of the matter is, to be completely fair, as I do play a Red Pally, I know this through and through. I play against one of the best players consistently in BGs, and to be completely fair, as I said, I'll repeat again, to be completely fair, without being biased, I don't feel dangerous at all. I do not feel dangerous at all versus the Shaman that is on 13k HP. You understand this? Like, Paladins have a great amplitude and burst and then they drop down. The only time Paladins function is if they are capable to get you to Hammer of Wrath ratio. Then the pressure starts hitting for survival. Finally, the only reason they're actually able to global people is because they're all using a combo of set bonuses and the AQ set shoulder enchant. They're basically a house of cards. They're so fragile. Once again, ignore bubble. This is so unbelievably true. I do not play the squishy build because it's unplayable. The squishy build is basically the squishy build right now for Paladins is, as he says, the AQ 20 set shoulder enchant, which puts your judgment on an 8-second cooldown and your Crusader Strike on a 6-second cooldown. It's very low on DPS, very high on burst build, but after that burst, you don't have anything. You're practically nothing. I do have this build, and I've chosen not to play it because I go in for very heavy targets and I don't need burst for them. I need DPS for them. It's why I've advertised for a long period of time, Paladins in particular, as you guys can see, to play with the Righteous Vengeance rune in particular for PvP, because it's a very good pressure point. When you start meeting good players, that burst doesn't matter. Consistent DPS throughput matters. Every single PvPer is going to tell you that that is true. Now, just to read the final here, now once you actually take the time to absorb all this information, you'll understand that we're all wrong. It doesn't matter whether they're the most complained about class currently and that everyone wants them nerfed. We need to learn to play around them and their limitations. Oh, I love you. They cannot have a diverse playstyle for each class. All they do is repentance, hodge, and delete. That's simply true. And it's so easy to be countered. You just need health. After the health, if you struggle against Paladins, start doing PvP. Use rank 13 and 14 builds with minimal set usage that you have to commit to, with maximum rune efficiency, and you're gonna see how Paladins are pretty much. It's like all that burst which used to scare you is no longer scary, because there is a cap to it. There's only so much you can deal. There's not a lot of ceiling to be increased. Granted, when you see them with Zerk buff and wings, they're gonna deal idiotic amounts of damage. But every class does. If you have a balanced druid with a berserker buff and they pop Starfall, everyone gets deleted. It's like they chunk the entirety of the battlefield down. It's a subjective conversation, but this shaman here, this guy here, you're the most base shaman in existence, dude. I am not sure what bewitched you to go against your peers, your horde fellas, but this is just the most base thing. From a paladin standpoint, you've earned my respect because you actually know. You actually know that paladins are just the most easily countered class. Everybody can survive a paladin. Paladin pops wings on you, you're a priest healer, disperse. Your team kills them because there is nothing they can do about it. You're a shaman, they pop a burst trinket on you. Oh, don't worry about it. Let me just run away from them, because we cannot chase or anything like this. Hunters going through this entire thing, don't worry about it. Hunters have, you trinket the Hand of Justice just for the sakes of being able to kind of meet the very first attack. High parry, high dodge, high survival. Warriors, all the health in the world. They can just shield wall it. Everybody has an answer to the burst. Very few people want to answer to the burst. It's simple as that.